Books make you hope. Books make you dream. Books make you laugh. Books make you scream. This is the Books That Make You show, discussing books with authors and experts, unraveling the inner pages of all the books that help make us who we are.
Welcome to the Books That Make You show. I'm your host, Desiree Duffy, and today we're talking about books that make you fill your cup. Ever wonder how full your cup should be? Whether your cup is nearing empty or only half full or ready to brim over, it's important to remember that while the cup of life is handed to us freely, how we fill it is entirely up to us. Tashena Anderson-Place is our guest today, and she is the author of Fill Your Cup, Discovering the War Between Life and Faithlessness. In her book, she uses coffee, one of my all-time favorite beverages, as an allegory to remind us how our hearts and minds can fill with anticipation when we decide how full our cup should actually be. And in her book, the unique thing about coffee and how it comes from a very special source from God and how it can help us all on our journey. Now, Tashena Anderson-Place is a multiple award winner, and she is a speaker and also a podcast host. I want to talk about that. And she's dedicated to empowering individuals to evaluate their cup of life and on a mission to inspire and uplift readers through her words. Tashena, hello, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
My pleasure. I'm excited too. I want to talk about what I've got in my cup here because, it's coffee.
Yes. I was like, I love that cup. I'm like, oh, how do I get a cup? I'm going to need to put that in my collection. I like that. I'm a mug collector too.
Ooh. Oh, I'll have to send you a very special Books That Make You coffee cup. It fits. It fits your brand, and I love this allegory of filling one's cup. And it feels like nowadays too. I don't know. My cup just never seems full enough. Life is hectic, and we all seem to have more stress than ever before. There's turmoil. Yeah, tell us. I mean, let's talk about that underlying message.
Yeah, no problem. No, I think like you're onto it. You got it. I thought, I felt like when it came to me, it was like something simple. What more than realizing, and again, my book is not about, I figured out this was me actually walking through things that I went through. And I was like, wait a minute here. I have a cup of life. We always talk about how life is hard, how life is, why is it always changing? Why is something happening? Why do I feel like I'm not successful? Why do I feel like I'm not getting ahead? Or I get ahead and 10 steps backward, here I come. Or, it's always trying to figure out something. And you feel like that cup of life is like up and down and up and down. And so I was like, what more than my love of coffee would make this all come together and make sense? I'm like, I love thinking over a cup of coffee. I love working and having a cup of coffee, you name it. And I was like, what better way to make people understand than bring around a coffee cup, right? So filling your cup is basically thinking over your lifetime, right? I always tell people, with fill your cup, you want to think, what is in my cup now? Who put it there? And do I have to keep it? And my goal is, from the beginning to the end of this book, is to have people realize that because your parents said so, because a friend said so, because somebody you met and said something to you, and you're like, oh, that stuck to me. I'm trying to get people to think it's a mind and a heart change that I'm after, right? I want them to realize that they can have a positive turn of events if they can get the mind and the heart to align to say, well, she's right. Wait a minute. It doesn't have to stay that way. I don't have to believe that because they said it. Let me pour out my cup and fill it up with something different.
Ooh, I love that. Because you're right. We feel that these voices, society and our parents and our friends and everybody are telling us different things. And that can be so stressful. And I love the way you talk about a heart and a mind shift. Can we talk more about that mindset shift?
Of course. Yeah. So I think a lot of people realize they're like, I want to make a change today. I want to do something different. And then when it doesn't happen, right, expectations are high. We didn't hit the goal. Like sometimes we catch ourselves and we stand still. And I think we need to realize that really it's a lot of inner work that needs to be done before it can transcend onto the outside and become outer work as well. So if we can deal with what's in here and what's up here and break off those chains of, shame, hurt, things that have happened and really focus on, what is actually in there. And I know that's the hard part, right? We don't want to do the hard work and get down to the nitty gritty of what's in our heart and what is in our mind. What are we calling out? What do we feel like is entrapping our mind and our thoughts every day? Because sometimes it's like a broken record, right? Something will trigger it. And it's like we're running around in circles over that same record. I'm not good enough. I can't do this. Or if something goes wrong, we immediately divert to whatever was said. Yeah, they always told me I was not enough, right? They're right. And then we go down the rabbit hole. So the point is, if you have the thought, right, to take a second to say, wait a minute, stop. That's not true. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, even if it's a little true, I can do something else about it, right? Or if that's how I've been feeling, I've been down today, great, I'm sad today. But that doesn't mean you have to stay there, right? So I'm not saying you can't have feelings. I'm just saying the way you address it and the way you think about it and turn your heart towards it can help you move forward.
And how exactly do you recommend people do that? Because that sounds easy. I can identify this thing, but then it doesn't go away. It follows me and it nags at me. Like, are there practical steps, or what would you suggest people actually do?
I always tell people small steps every day, right? Be consistent. If you can be consistent in the change and consistent and committed to the change, right? Because it's not a one-day thing and you think it's going to go away and it's over, right? No, this is something you have to do every day. That you wake up, I'm going to decide that every day I wake up, that thought is not going to control me, right? That thing is not going to be there. And if it shows up, immediately address it and replace it with something positive, right? I think that's the problem. A lot of times we empty out our cups and address these issues and options or whatever's in the cup, but we don't fill it with something more purposeful or more positive. We just feel, empty and really open, but we're looking to be full. And that's what we've been called to do, right? To be full of something, full of life, full of love, full of kindness, full of joy. But if we don't put that in there to replace the bad things, we're just walking lonely and defeated, right? It's always searching for the next thing to fill that hole when we're really not looking at what could be there or making a good effort to be there.
Yeah. And there's a lot of negative things that can make room in our cups. And to use your allegory, we have so much room in there and taking out the bad things and filling it with the good things. And it just makes me think of folks who might be suffering from addictions or depression or childhood trauma, like all of those things.
Yes. Yeah. So if you think about it, a lot of the times too, I tell people all the time, my childhood wasn't the worst childhood you could have had, but, there's certain things about my childhood. My dad wasn't there, things like that. We didn't have a 2-parent household like some people do. My parents were young. They had me when they were really young. So my grandmother basically raised me my whole life. So you have to think about all that. But does that label me? Does that cancel everything that I'm doing? Do I look back on that and I'm like, oh, it could have been different? Yes. But also I think about all the good things that happened, right? I still graduated high school. I still went on to do all the stuff. I have a beautiful family now, all the different things. I have this opportunity that I even think was possible in life. So we gotta check it and say, that's not me. Just because my family was broken doesn't mean the one I have now has to be. Like, just for an example, what me and my husband always say, if you want to be a generational curse breaker, right? What do we got to do to beat that? And that's why we treat our kids a certain way, right? We spend time with them differently. We tell them we love them all the time, like things that we didn't hear, on either side of our coins. We try to make sure we implement those small things into our normal everyday lives.
A generational curse breaker. I like that terminology.
Yeah.
How does one actually go about evaluating their life? How do you do that?
I tell you, it's the hard part, right? That's the hard stuff. So I would start with I always tell people, don't overdo it. I mean, we could put a whole list of things down, right, that didn't go right in life. What's your top 5, right? What's your top 5 things that you feel holding you back? Those thoughts or those things happen and you're like, oh my goodness, I cannot get over this. Like forgive, not forget, but worse, right? Like this, the root of bitterness is still there. The resentment still kind of stings when it comes. And then I would look over those things and say, okay, is it really worth taking this to your grave? Like, is it really worth not making a step to say, okay, I can look at this. 1, here's the issue. 2, what do I want to do differently about this issue? 3, like, okay, what's the first step to that? Do I ask for help? And I always tell people, do not deter from asking for help for somebody that's either been there, certified to help you, a church community, a friend, someone you can confide in that will give you legit, like neutral feeling, neutral ground advice, and then start from there. Because a lot of times the greatest ideas that you have for filling your cup or reviewing your life can happen from a neutral party looking in from the outside to say, hey, I see this. Did you see this? And then the ideas of how to fix it can definitely flow a little easier.
It is so true. Asking for help, number one, to your point, people sometimes are afraid or that they feel that it makes them weak if they're doing that.
Yes.
And they can be worried about somebody actually seeing them or seeing their own truth. So that can cause a lot of inhibitions, can't it?
Yes, exactly. And again, there's always been a stigma around asking for help. I'm going to be weak. I'm going to look weak. It's going to make me. No, actually, I realized that some of my greatest ideas come out when I'm in a group of 2 or 3. You know, the diversity in thought and can definitely bring some ideas that my little brain wasn't even thinking of, and they can see a different way out. And I think sometimes we need to lean on that. And as people, we need to realize community is not bad. It's all in what you make of it. And especially if you can get, I'm not saying go out here and make 50 friends. I'm saying if you can get 1 or 2 or 3 good ones around you that can pour positivity or be a good example in your life or help you make the changes in life. And they're not here for judgment. I think that's what we are looking for. And a lot of people probably are saying, well, I've tried to make friends and they don't always come out right. I say, don't give up, right? There's always somebody out there that's probably saying the same thing that you're saying. And they're like, I'm looking for a person like that too. Don't give up on each other. You might find that one.
Yeah. I was recently talking to author Jay Morris. His book is called Masterpiece. And one of the core tenets that he talks about is this idea of, don't force yourself into a certain tribe or community. Yes. Sometimes you're just not supposed to be there. It could be, don't force yourself into a certain clique of friends or work associates, or even a church or community organization. It just might not be the fit. And when you expend so much energy and time trying to make yourself fit, that's another thing that can just wear you down.
Oh yeah. I just interviewed somebody about thinking about what it takes to belong. And I think that's where we, like you said, expend a lot of money on clothes or money on ourselves, or, I don't even wear makeup, but women spend thousands of dollars on makeup and, all the biggest accessories, the brand name, you name it. And it's like, if I got to do all that and we can't just have a cup of coffee together, go grab some pizza and hang out, like we have some problems. Like I can't run with the Joneses. That's not for me. Right. And so we got to know when to peel back and say, what is your lane, and stay in your lane. And if they can't come, that is not a friend. If they can't see where you are and meet you, then there's something else you need to evaluate about that relationship, right? Because I think it's a two-way thing, right? What can we both get out of this relationship? And is it fulfilling in a way that is not causing any harm emotionally or spiritually to me or you? So we need to evaluate that. And you are more. I always tell people, you're worth more, than we give ourselves credit for. So we deserve what, a good friend or, community.
Cheers. Exactly. I love that.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about embracing transition? Why is that important?
Oh, man. Oh, of course. So I figured out, transition is hard, right? Because that means something has to go for something else to come in, right? So I think for me, I always looked at transition as a bad thing sometimes. Like, oh man, why do I have to give this up even though I still enjoy it, right? Why is this coming to an end? Because it feels like I could go further, right? I think we have to think in our minds that if life is about seasons, right? Even if we look at fall, summer, spring, there's seasons, right? Everything comes to an end. You got to think somehow in our lives, the same thing is happening, right? Even if it's a job. Sometimes you get in that job and you start getting these feelings like, oh, I'm uncomfortable, or oh, this doesn't fit anymore. But we still try to make the transition, not make the transition, and we still try to stay in that job, still work there. Even though we're frustrated, we'll stay. We'll try to make it work to the end. So I think embracing the transition is saying, you know what? Is it time to really think about, is this right for me? Am I taking into account how long I've been here or how long I've been in this situation? Have we grown differently? Do I need to take that into account? Is the company grown, even if it's a job? Has the company went away from where I used to think it was, or is it not growing at all? Like, it's time to like kind of embrace the fact that change you can't stop it. It's going to happen. But we need to be okay with the fact that I always tell people embrace change because it's inevitable. We can't stop it. It's all in how we go into it. And again, that goes back to what? Your heart and your mindset, right? If you're going like, oh, I have to do this instead of I get to do this today, then it's a difference in the perspective in what you're saying. So I say with transition, no, you're going to have a grieving period. That's okay. You're going to grieve whatever you lost. But then you also have to look forward to what you're gaining, right? So if you are grieving a position, if you're grieving a person you lost, all of that is good too, because it's going to happen. I'm still grieving my grandmother who I lost, almost 3-4 years now. But, things happen where you're still like, but how do I also move forward? So it's grieved in, but how do you move forward?
And that, when you're talking, it just struck me. So many times it seems like it might be generational in many ways too. Yeah. Or again, you hear your parents or even your grandparents, for example, say, you need to stay in this job. Look at your father. He worked at company XYZ for 35 years. Oh, why would you think of leaving this job?
Yeah.
But to your point, sometimes your time there is done. And, we use the example of the job, but in so many different portions of our life, we hold on because we feel that's what we're supposed to do.
Oh man, that's the word right there, right? Mm-hmm. We're supposed to because somebody else said it was supposed to be, or because, oh man, what if I let my family down if I decide I don't want to be a doctor, or I don't want to go to the hero, I'm in love with something else, or what happens if that we have to grieve that, right? Because it's like, do we really want to go through life being stuck in the box? Like we put ourselves in a box a lot of the times because we're worried about the outside people and what's going on. But now, and I'm not trying to say go out and do everything you want to do in life, right? Like I'm not one of those people that like jump off the ship. If they say something to you, just leave, right? No, do it respectfully. Like, come on. Like, if you want to switch a job, before you jump the ship, please look for another job and have everything in alignment. Get your resources in alignment. Make sure that your household is taken care of. Like, be responsible and mature about the decision too. I don't want people to be like, oh yeah, Sheena was like, yeah, go for it. No. I'm saying go for it in a mature manner, right? Make sure when you're evaluating your cup, you're even going in with a mature mindset, because you don't want to cost yourself more by, oh yeah, just because I didn't like that today, or somebody said something, I'm out, or I'm gonna cut that person off, or cut this thing off because it just didn't turn out how I believed it was in the moment. So sometimes too, and that's my advice too, and I've had this happen with change and things happening around me, and I'm like, what do I do? First of all, I know this is going to sound like it's hard. I don't know. Maybe it's easy. I don't know. But I always try to make sure, is it my feelings flaring up? And feelings are tricky. And if it's feelings, then I need to step away for a moment and reevaluate. And then when I'm ready to address the situation, then step back in. Because I think sometimes we get our emotions all awry, and then we're like, oh yeah, I made a decision instantly when we didn't take a second to think about it.
And you work a lot with women, and I know that helping women, empowering them is important. Can you talk about that?
Yes, I'll have to say that this has been a newfound kind of came along with Fill Your Cup, talking about transition, that really I didn't know was going to happen. But man, it is overwhelming, but beautiful all at the same time to have so many women saying, thank you for your yes. And I mean, I'm still not over that. I still don't know how to take it. I'm even getting all like, ooh, right now, like so many women saying, because you come out and you're so transparent, because I come and I share an encouraging word, because I tell them it's not, I don't have it all together, but I want to walk it out with you. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what I do in Fill Your Cup. Right. I'm like, I don't have it all together, but I want to show you how I got to where I am now. Or I'm trying to get somewhere differently. And they've never, like I said, thought about this perspective, like they could have these thoughts of I'm not enough, I have doubt, I have all these issues, and can change it. So yes, I what an honor, I would say, to be in front of women at women's conferences or any type of event that I'm invited to, and they're like, my goodness, why didn't I think of this? So sometimes just speaking your truth and speaking the word that you have inside of you, your testimony, and sharing what you've been through can really open the eyes and minds of all the people around you. So I've just been blessed, I guess, to say that, yeah, women have definitely become, at first I thought it was going to be more lean towards men and women, and both have read my book, but the women have really caught on. So it's exciting and new, and I don't take it for granted.
And you host an event as well, the Open Cup Conference. Can you talk about that?
Oh, yeah. So as I picked up with this ministry, I guess they're calling it a ministry now, women and being with women, talking to them, encouraging them, I decided this year that I would embark on a new thing in my life of starting women's events. So we decided to have the first ever Open Cup Conference, and it just blew up into something a lot more than what I thought it was going to be. So we decided to have a 1.5 day event where we could bring women to talk and get encouragement. I brought in other authors and speakers that are kind of like inspirational authors as well, to pour into their cups. And they left that weekend. They felt encouraged. They had, some takeaway materials with them. And that's my hope, right? I wanted to bring them in the room to I challenged them in the room. So we had like a surrender and release, type of activity where we really wrote down like on tags, like the word surrender was up on the wall. And it's like, what can you surrender out of your cup now? Like we addressed them in the room right then. And then the next day they came in and I had another wall up, and it was like words that they could take with them to put into their cup to move forward, right? Positive words. So they surrendered the bad. So I had brown tags where they could surrender the things that have really been walking them down in their cup. That's their word, surrender. Let's go. Let's get rid of it. But then I want you to pick up what truly can be said about you and be felt, and what you should be carrying with you in your next season.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I love that. Mm-hmm. And in addition to doing that, you are also your own podcast host. Can you talk about your show?
I am just all over the place.
You are.
So I tell you, about being out in the spotlight, that was not my thing. I will have to tell you guys, I've been really a behind the scenes type of person, helping people, doing things. And then all of a sudden it was like, I couldn't hide any further. So I have this podcast called Be Filled Podcast. So still along the lines of coffee and being filled. And I was like, what more better than that? You fill your cup, and then you have to come meet me every Wednesday to be filled. I still work out things live that I'm going through. If a word comes to me that I think needs to get out in the world, I drop it every Wednesday on all the platforms that I can, and on my author page if you want to see me live and YouTube. But yes, it's just encouragement. Still the same thing, right? So not even, I'm picking up where I left off in the book and continuing on. And you can come see me do it on video. So it's exciting.
It's so exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And your book is amazing. And tell us, I know you got a lot going on, the book and the conference and the show, but what's on the horizon? Anything we can look forward to?
Yeah, so I do have a second book in my desk that I have put on hold for now because I can't tell if I want to move forward with that quite yet. More events are coming for the collective. We have one coming up here in a couple of weeks, and then we have some things in the fall that we're working on. And of course, hopefully we'll have our second annual conference next year. The women were like, hey, we can't wait till then. Like, what are we doing? Is it on the calendar already? Like, what? They're already ready to be back in the room. So just trying to hone in on what exactly the Open Cup Collective is blooming into. Like I thought it was just a conference, but more like these women really want to be together and they want to grow together. So I want to make sure I can do that in a great space.
It's amazing when people can be the person to facilitate. You're connecting people and bringing them together. I mean, just think of, don't you ever just kind of stop and say, oh, I helped those two people meet and now they're off creating this thing together, or now they're helping each other fill each other's cup. Do you ever have those moments where you're like, oh, I helped do that?
Yes. I sit here all the time and I'm like, how did I even, what in the world is going on? Like a lot of time I'm in disbelief over, how one step of, obedience or saying yes or walking forward or taking, like I said, just being vulnerable to, pour out my own cup and just move forward with that can just have so many different things that it's touching. Like, it's just, I feel like I always say it has its own legs. And then the next thing you're like, I look at these people, a lot of times when I have events, I step back and I look at the room and I'm like, wow, look at how these people interact with each other. Like they've known each other forever, but they just met. Or some people who have not been in contact since they left the community, but I'm the one sole person connecting all these people together. Yeah. And I'm like, how is that? I'm like, thank you that it's me, but also it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing. And it takes amazing people like you and the world to do this. And thank you so much for doing what you do, for writing your amazing book, Fill Your Cup. And tell us where everybody can go to find you, your website, social media. Where can they find your book? Give us all your details.
Oh, yeah, of course. Sure thing. So I am on, I'm on Tashena, TASHENAAP on, on Instagram. And then I have my author page, Tashena Anderson-Place, author. And then they can also find me on, I'm not on TikTok. I have to be honest. I was on there. I was going to say I was on TikTok, but I'm not on there right now. Yeah. I can't control it all.
You can only do so much, right?
Oh, man. I tell you, I think I'm going to have to get a social media person eventually. But you can go to the website, www.theopencupcollective.com. That's where you can see all the events, and you can see my author page there. You can look at a glimpse of my book. You can get one of my podcasts is up there as well. Email is up there if you want to get in contact with me. But I'm usually on Facebook and Instagram the most. Definitely find me there. My book is on Amazon and Goodreads for now. I forgot to say, I'm even thinking about doing an audio version of that this year and to make it more fun.
Oh, that would be fabulous. You should definitely do that.
Yeah.
Tashena Anderson-Place, thank you so much for joining us today on the Books That Make You show and sharing your beautiful book, your message, and everything with us. I appreciate you.
Of course. No, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And thank you for everybody for being here as well. Again, my name is Desiree Duffy, and I'm the host of the Books That Make You show. And you can find out more about us on our website. It's booksthatmakeyou.com. You can also find us. We are on Facebook and Instagram. Yep, we're on TikTok, and it's a little bit of a fun ride. We're also on YouTube, and I invite you to subscribe, ring the bell, get notifications. Also, you can sign up for our Webby Award-winning Books That Make You newsletter and never miss a show with wonderful authors like Tashina. And we do fun giveaways and all sorts of bookish fun. Again, all of my bookish buddies, please, until next time, enjoy all of the books that make you exactly who you are.
The host and executive producer of the Books That Make You show is Desiree Duffy. Sound mastering and engineering by Dave Napox. Social media and content promotion by Siddhi Jahagirdar. Copywriting and editing by Mike Robinson. The Books That Make You show is an award-winning podcast produced by Black Chateau Enterprises.